Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into a really significant issue, a massive financial black hole, actually. It's plaguing infrastructure projects globally. Our sources are showing that major sites, construction, utilities, public works, they're losing well over $1 billion annually.
A billion. That's huge.
Right, and that's just from things like construction site theft, vandalism, loss. And a big part of the problem, it seems those old kind of clunky on-site boxes, the NVRs and DVRs, they're fundamentally failing.
I really are, yeah.
Yeah.
Traditional surveillance is mostly passive recording. It's basically the digital equivalent of a paper trail.
Okay.
It tells you what happened maybe hours after the fact. Not much help in the moment.
Exactly. So our mission today is to cut right to the solutions. We're going to unpack this fundamental shift happening towards cloud-native video security tools. We're talking about systems powered by AI, systems that actually replace the need for physical network video recorders, NVRs, or those digital video recorders, DVRs, on-site. And we've got sources detailing 7 key options that infrastructure professionals are, seriously evaluating right now.
And the goal here for you listening is really to get a handle on what's becoming the new standard. AI-powered threat detection and remote centralized monitoring. We've sort of organized these tools based on their deployment philosophy. Are they pure cloud? Are they hybrid? Or maybe more like intelligence overlays? We'll dig into the strengths and, crucially, the trade-offs of each one.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's unpack this, maybe starting with a solution that kind of sets a high bar, especially for compliance and integration. That's the pairing of AlphaVision and the rugged access integration. This one seems to marry specialized hardware with some pretty deep cloud intelligence.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is just the sheer durability of the hardware side. I mean, for infrastructure projects, you're often operating in really harsh outdoor environments. So you absolutely need cameras that are weatherproof, vandal-resistant. The access side provides that really robust foundation. They often feature things like up to 40x optical zoom, full 360-degree panoramic coverage. Gets rid of those annoying blind spots.
Right. And that high-quality feed then gets piped up to the AlphaVision cloud platform. They call it the physical AI platform, which is interesting. And that's where the intelligence really takes over, isn't it? You mentioned proactive safety management before.
Exactly. They have this thing called AI Inspector. It automatically flags critical compliance violations. Stuff like identifying a worker who's missing required PPE, personal protective equipment.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's coupled with active threat prevention, too. So instead of just relying on a human, maybe spotting an intruder way too late, the system uses live audio intervention. Security staff can actually issue real-time verbal warnings through network speakers, literally talk down a threat before it becomes a physical breach.
Well, talking down a threat, that's proactive.
It really is. Plus, from an enterprise view, this platform is 100% cloud native. That means no physical NVR gear to maintain on-site. And crucially, it's fully TAA and NDAA compliant. Now, for any public sector project or government-adjacent work, that compliance, it's basically mandatory.
That makes sense. So that strong blend, you've got the robust hardware, the real-time AI, and the compliance sounds like the high-end choice, especially for businesses needing that proactive safety and effortless scalability across maybe dozens of remote locations.
It definitely sets a high standard, yeah. Okay, so now let's look at the remaining 6 solutions. We've kind of categorized these by their deployment philosophy, and the discussion here quickly pivots, from compliance to balancing how much you rely on the cloud versus keeping hardware on-site.
Okay, so where do we start? Maybe with Cisco Meraki MV. If the sources are clear on one thing, it seems to be that this is the pure cloud ecosystem play, built entirely for simplicity.
That's right. Its main strength is definitely the easy deployment. Often it's just a simple QR code setup. And that centralized management piece. If you're already in the Cisco world, you can manage your cameras, your Wi-Fi, network devices, all from one single cloud dashboard. Pretty neat.
Okay, but the sources also highlight vendor lock-in as a big risk here. So how do infrastructure managers deal with that, those high hardware and licensing costs when it's, time to upgrade?
Well, that's the thing. They kind of can't, really. Meraki is very much a closed ecosystem. You are locked into their specific hardware, full stop. Plus, their analytics are generally pretty basic. They lack that advanced object and behavior detection we saw with, say, AlphaVision. And like any pure cloud system, it's completely internet dependent. If connectivity drops on some remote site, your cloud features just pause. That's a risk.
Got it. Okay, so if Meraki is for the pure ecosystem fan, Let's maybe pivot to Arcules. That's part of Milestone Systems, right? This solution seems to take almost the opposite approach, really focusing on hybrid flexibility for those who want to keep their existing cameras, maybe.
Exactly. That flexibility is the real value proposition there, especially for larger firms doing multi-site rollouts. Arcules lets you reuse your legacy ONVIF cameras. And for anyone unfamiliar, ONVIF is just that global standard that lets cameras from different manufacturers talk to the same system. It's quite useful.
Mm.
So Arcules connects these older cameras through a gateway appliance, giving you that centralized cloud management without having to rip and replace everything.
That definitely sounds like a potential cost saver. But there's always a but, right? What's the
Yeah.
trade-off?
Well, most of those cameras still require that on-site gateway, which is, another piece of hardware you have to manage. Also, the cloud analytics. They can become a bit limited when you're storing video locally. And for really large deployments, this kind of hybrid model can get pretty bandwidth heavy when the cloud tries to pull all that centralized video back. Something to watch out for.
Okay. And then still in this hybrid category, we have OpenEye Web Services, or OWS. This one seems to be a hybrid system that really doubles down on reliability for difficult sites, leaning into local control.
That's the idea, yeah. OWS combines cloud management with local recording, typically via NVRs. That local storage is their stability mechanism. It ensures reliability for those remote sites that might have unstable or intermittent internet. You still get centralized monitoring and health alerts remotely, but the actual footage recording, that's stored resiliently right there on site.
Makes perfect sense for reliability. But the sources note this adds complexity. It often requires integrators for what they call a complex setup. Why is installing OWS typically harder than, say, the QR code simplicity of Meraki?
It's because you're essentially managing a whole physical video management software, VMS, system, the brains of the operation on that local NVR, plus connecting that NVR up to the OWS cloud platform. So that reliance on local hardware, it adds maintenance points, potential failure points, and you still find the analytics are generally less advanced than some of the high-end AI platforms we're about to discuss.
Okay, that's actually a perfect pivot. We've covered solutions focusing on the deployment method, pure cloud, hybrid. Now let's shift focus entirely. Let's talk about solutions that specialize in maximizing the intelligence you can get from cameras you might already own. This is where that term AI overlay seems to become really dominant.
Exactly. And this brings up a really important question for a lot of folks. Can you actually get advanced AI without buying a whole new set of camera hardware? Let's start with Camio. This is a pure cloud-native AI platform. It's designed specifically to set on top of standard cameras and basically turn them into smart sensors.
Right, it's often called a video search engine, which I think is a great analogy. It means users can query their footage using just natural language. So instead of scrolling through hours of, dark, uneventful footage, a security manager could literally type something like, "Show me the person near the excavator last night carrying something."
Exactly, that kind of power. And it comes from what they call edge processing. They actually reduce bandwidth needs by up to 70%. They do the heavy AI lifting right there on a gateway device on site instead of streaming all that raw, high-def video up to the cloud constantly.
Wow, 70% bandwidth reduction is significant. So if Cameo offers this incredible search power and saves bandwidth, what's the catch? There must be one.
Well, the trade-off is pretty fundamental. Cameo is not a full VMS. It's the intelligence layer, the search layer. It requires pairing with your existing NVR or VMS for the actual long-term video recording.
Yeah.
You need to already have that foundational recording system in place for it to work on top of.
Okay, got it. So it enhances but doesn't replace the recording part. Next up is Ambient.ai. This one seems to focus heavily on contextual threat detection. Sounds like maybe an evolution of standard motion detection.
It is, yeah. It's definitely a step up. This is a pretty high-end solution, really aimed at large enterprises. It overlays your existing VMS, like Cameo, but focuses heavily on context and motion analysis, importantly, not facial recognition to identify abnormal behaviors. And it comes loaded with literally hundreds of preset threat signatures, things like tailgating through a secure door or objects left behind unattended.
Hundreds. Wow, that sounds incredibly complex to manage. Is that level of specificity even, feasible in a constantly changing environment like a construction site?
Well, it requires a serious commitment, definitely resources. The sources really highlight the premium cost associated with it.
Yeah.
And also the absolute necessity of constant tuning to minimize false alerts. If you don't carefully tune those hundreds of signatures precisely to your site, you'll just drown in notifications. It could become counterproductive. And critically, just like Cameo, this is not standalone. It absolutely requires your existing cameras and VMS to function. It's an intelligence layer.
Okay. Heavy tuning required.
Mm.
Finally, in this category, we have Ivideon. This looks like a global cloud VMS. Seems highly versatile on the surface, supports a wide range of cameras, offers advanced features like facial recognition, LPR monitoring.
It is versatile, feature-rich.
Yeah.
But here is where infrastructure professionals really need to pay attention. There's crucial context around compliance and, frankly, geopolitics. The sources are quite clear in warning that Ivideon's Russian roots raise significant privacy and geopolitical trust issues for many organizations, particularly in the West.
And that's the point, isn't it? That makes it basically a non-starter for massive infrastructure projects, especially in the US or allied countries. The sources state it clearly. It is not NDAA compliant. If you're dealing with government contracts, public sector facilities, compliance is just mandatory. This solution, regardless of its features, simply cannot meet that fundamental requirement.
Absolutely. It's a critical blocker for many use cases. So, if we step back and connect all this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the shift we've seen across all 7 of these options, it's undeniably toward intelligence. The new baseline for security. It's no longer just about recording footage. It's about automatically detecting events, recognizing objects, and actively preventing incidents, whether that's stopping theft or, flagging a safety violation like missing PPE, ideally in real time. The purely passive camera is becoming obsolete.
So thinking about our listener, what does this all mean for you as you're trying to evaluate these different choices? It seems the ultimate decision really comes down to balancing maybe 3 key factors. Cost, obviously, the required compliance level, especially that ND808 piece. And third, your site's internet stability. If you've got reliable internet and you absolutely need high compliance, then maybe a pure cloud solution like AlphaVision or even Meraki, if the ecosystem fits, could be highly scalable. But if you have remote sites with shaky connectivity or maybe a huge inventory of existing cameras you want to leverage, then those hybrid options like Arcules or OWS, they offer that necessary resilience, right?
That sums it up well. It's about finding that right balance for your specific needs. And maybe to leave you with a provocative thought to mull over. The sources we looked at mentioned that these AI agents are now turning passive surveillance into intelligence systems that can actually see, think, and act. Now, considering just how fast AI is evolving, how might future infrastructure security systems use these AI agents? Could they move beyond just reporting incidents? Could they actually start to manage minor site operations autonomously, maybe monitoring supply inventory levels, or even autonomously securing a temporary site gate without needing direct human intervention? It's definitely something to explore for your next deep dive.